Hello, friends. Welcome to another exciting rendition of This Week in Real Estate, joined by Jackie Lange of USA Mortgage, Cory Otto. Oh, he's over here. Cory Otto of the EXP Realty. I work with Jackie at USA Mortgage. Every Sunday night we get together. We talk about what's kind of going on in our world, and we're happy the election's over, and now it's time to really. I think it's time to start looking forward to the. Hey, this is what it's going to be for the next 4 years. Rates are not going to come screaming down. It'll be the opposite of what I want them to, but they're not going to. The only reason we saw those crazy low rates was because of COVID. You guys know how it goes. So all in all, welcome, guys. Tonight we're gonna do some do's and don'ts for home buyers, right? Cory and Jackie, is that what we decided upon?
Yeah.
So
I do want to update you guys because I know we talked about it last week, and I did get the final numbers in. So for our kinship fall bash, we made almost $25,000.
Hell yeah!
And then we had some expenses, and we're upwards of the $20,000 mark. So
that's awesome.
Big increase from last year. $6,000 increase. So thanks to both you guys for your support and sponsorship of that program.
Way to go. I have a serious question. Who has their Christmas tree up already?
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I went to my sister's house the other day to get my hair cut, and she had her Christmas tree up already. I have friends with Christmas trees up already. I was watching the Packer game today, and I don't see anything about Thanksgiving. I think we went from Halloween to Christmas. Do you guys feel the same thing? Or I feel like it was election, and now it's Christmas. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I'd probably be divorced if I had my Christmas stuff up.
Okay.
I would do it. Don't get me wrong. I would 100% do it. But there's a rule in our household. You have to wait until after Thanksgiving. So the second Thanksgiving dinner is done, it's going up.
The second
we're done with dinner, it's going up.
So tonight's poll is going to be either fake tree or real tree. I want to know in the comments. Are you a fake tree person or are you a real tree person? And if you're a no tree person, you can put that in there as well. So I think that'll be. And
bonus points if you do have your tree up and you post a picture.
Oh,
yes, absolutely.
That is solid. And that's a nice lead into. Owning your home, the holidays I feel like is when it feels best to have your own house. You get to invite your family over. I remember when we first bought our first house, we hosted Thanksgiving, and it wasn't not big enough for everybody. And it was like, wow. But you know what? You only have to put up with everybody for 4 or 5 hours and you can kick them out. So it's all good. So fake tree or real tree? That is the question here tonight on This Week in Real Estate. We're going to be talking about do's and don'ts for home buyers. Next week, we're going to do it for home sellers as well. Cory knows a lot as a listing agent, and then Jackie and I, we're the ones who get you ready for the mortgage. I'm going to continue. Before we get started, I'm going to continue to beat that drum, the cost of waiting. I emailed a scenario to you the other day, Jackie, on a $250,000 house. The cost of waiting 1 year right now costs you about $6,000. Because what that house is going to appreciate in the next year versus what the interest rates are projected to go down, it's going to cost you $6,000 to wait. So let's get pre-approved and let's buy a house. And if you're not opposed to moving the kids and during the school year, there's a lot of reasons not to move during the school year. But if you don't have kids, or it's going to be okay. I moved 4 times during school, guys. Look how I turned out. Maybe that's a bad example, Cory. I saw your face on something like that. So, but it's all good. Anyway, we get together every Sunday night. We talk about real estate, mortgage rates, whatever's happening. Didn't see much. The rates are just real volatile right now, Jackie. I think a lot of people assume, hey, the Fed's talking about lowering rates, so they lowered rates. I think right away that goes to mortgage. And not really what it does. It goes to car loans. It goes to credit cards. It goes to business loans. The bond market really determines what a mortgage rate's going to be. And the bond market is honestly sometimes where people put money when the stock market's not as secure, if you will. And I think right now there's a lot of consumer confidence after the election. We saw a lot of money go back into the stock market and actually saw mortgage rates sneak up a little bit. But we'll see what happens. I'm not giving up on it. But it definitely is affecting affordability, Jackie, Cory, on a house right now. I would say Cory, when the rates were in the 2s, everybody was buying $400,000, $500,000 houses, right? Am I wrong? Or
no? Yeah, people were buying. Yep.
And now I think a 250. They just listed a house in Richland Center, brand new build, beautiful home, 375. And that's a big nut. For principal and interest and, insurance and the whole deal on total monthly payment. So, but hey, we're here to help you buy a house any way we can. Cory, how was your weekend? Let's talk about what you did this weekend.
So I ended up I volunteered at the roller rink on Saturday. We had a pretty big crowd, so I did that. And then today I did not go tanning. I was actually raking leaves and cutting down trees here at the office. And I guess I didn't realize it, but I got some sun while I was doing it. So
we've had an unseasonably warm fall so far, and that scares me. Because one of these days it's just going to snap and it's going to be winter. Kind of like we skipped Thanksgiving, went right to Christmas this year. I feel like I think the winter is going to do that as well. But we'll see what happens. So they are talking snow. My wife said into this week. Did you guys see that?
I think so. Yep. On Tuesday or something.
Okay. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Rain Tuesday and snow Thursday, I think.
We didn't have any rain for like 2 months. Like all of September and October were just dry. And now we've had some rain the last couple weeks. Hopefully we got a bunch here in Richland Center the last couple weeks. Hopefully that can keep us out of that drought and different things like that. Again, this is This Week in Real Estate. Every Sunday night, Jackie, Cory, and I jump on, talk about current topics in the markets. And the one thing we wanted to talk about tonight was the do's and don'ts. And the first thing was do get pre-approved for a mortgage. Jackie, can you touch on that? I'll put that there on the screen right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Touch on the importance of getting pre-approved and what it means, like what it means to an agent, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way to kind of look at doing a pre-approval is kind of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You need a golden ticket is exactly what an agent's going to want to see. They're not going to want to see this pre-qualification letter. They're going to want to see an actual pre-approval letter. And what that basically means is your lender, your trusted lender, has reviewed your income and matched it to all of your regular monthly debts that you have and has given you a number to where you can afford the house. You're not literally just going mortgage broke. So basically it's the most important thing. I don't even know how to explain it even better than that. It is the most important thing for you to do is to get a pre-approval letter. And then once you have that pre-approval letter, it really kind of like goes right into the next aspect of you need to have like a trusted real estate agent as well too, to kind of do that with. So I partner up with Cory a lot when it comes to doing mortgages and getting people into houses, because Cory and I are always on the same page. We communicate nonstop. He knows where stuff is at. I know where stuff is at. And we try to make it as smooth as a process for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, going shopping for a pre-approval, you don't even know what you can afford. Because, I think, wow, that looks nice, but can I afford that? And if you're just window shopping, that's one thing. But there was a time, Cory, during COVID, you couldn't even go look at a house without a pre-approval letter. And honestly, I kind of like that because real estate agents, they don't want to say no to anybody, so they'll go show them a house, hoping to get that client, right? But they have no idea. They have no idea if that person can even afford that house. If you're a seller, do you want people tromping through your house if they're just being nosy? I mean, I guess that's what open houses can kind of do, stuff like that. But a lot of times when I go to open houses with agents, a lot of times it's just the neighbors being nosy the first couple people through, and then then you get some legit buyers coming through with some other agents or people that checked it out. So we'll just see. I saw a shiny object, Cory. I'm seeing a lot more open houses the last couple months than I have in the previous couple years. Do you think? Are you seeing the same thing, Cory, or is it just me kind of making a wild guess?
I would agree too. I feel like it was definitely a seller's market the last couple of years, and sometimes it didn't even, if you listed on Thursday or Friday, it's typical to have open houses on the weekend, and it was agents didn't even want to schedule open houses because offers were coming in so quick and so high that usually there was an accepted offer within the first 24 or 48 hours. And, you'd have to cancel an open house if there's an accepted offer. So I have seen an increase in open houses as well. And I'm doing them too. I think it's a good way to meet buyers. It's a good way to ask questions and see properties. But, again, back to the point that we had talked about is I have, people I see at open houses, they're looking around and they haven't been pre-approved yet, then they don't even know what price range they're in, even if they did end up liking the house. So back to our point one of pre-approvals matter, and you need to get pre-approved.
And don't be scared of a pre-approval, people. It's an online application. It takes 10, 15 minutes to fill out. And then we want to see some W-2s, some bank statements, and some pay stubs. If you can get us that stuff, we can legitimately have you pre-approved in a day or less, as long as nothing's too crazy. Self-employment takes a little bit extra time. We want to have an underwriter look at your income, because Jackie and I don't want to do is say yes to somebody and then 2 weeks before closing say, no, we made a mistake. That is like my biggest fear, Jackie. That's the stuff that keeps me up at night. And then to call your referral partner, like your Cory or your real estate agent that you do a lot of business with, referral partners are everything to us. Buyers and sellers are everything to a real estate agent, but a referral partner, whether it's a friend or family sending me business, or a real estate agent sending you business, Jackie, our reputation, depends upon that. And the first couple of years, I've been in the business now, 8 years, and the first couple of years, I really sucked, and I just told everybody yes, and I made a lot of false promises, and I just did kind of these crappy pre-quals, took people's word that they made $100,000, and I pulled credit, stuff like that. But I'm just proud of the pre-approvals that we put out now, because knock on wood, if we say we can do it, we're going to be able to do it. Because when you move, you're telling your landlord, like, hey, I'm moving out. You put your notice in. And I say this every Sunday night. If you don't have a car for a couple of days, it's not the end of the world. You can get a ride. If you don't have a place to live, that you want to talk about anxiety and stress, that sucks. You know what I mean? So kids, pets, yourself, it's hard. It's hard. So that's why we take this really, really seriously about getting pre-approved for a mortgage. Do work. Another do. Again, tonight we're doing do's and don'ts for a buyer. Do work with a trusted real estate agent. Cory, you want to touch on that as our resident agent expert?
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's important to just find an agent, pick it. You can shop around, you can call them, you can ask questions, you can look at their history, you can see an agent on Zillow and see what their sales are. Find somebody that fits your personality, find somebody that's willing to put in the work for you. But I do feel that, I get to know my clients. I understand their personal situations. I understand their financial situations. I try to learn about what's important to them as far as location, what's important to them as far as the features that they want in a home. And, I try to also talk like the 5-10 year plan for them. So I do understand, when they're trying to purchase, if it's just a starter home, if it's downsizing, I'll give different advice to different people based on how long they, want to be able to be living in their home. So I do feel that it is important to find an agent, ask them questions, ask them about their availability, ask them about the process, and then if it makes sense and your personalities match and you feel like you can trust that agent, definitely can say that you want to work with them and commit to them just as they're going to commit to you.
Cory, if I'm here's a scenario, I'm with an agent, it just doesn't feel right. Like they're not responsive, they're not getting back to me, like I'm not getting the customer service. Can I break up with this agent? What is the process on that? Or once I pick an agent, am I stuck with somebody? Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so since things have changed a little bit, a lot of times, or at least now, we have to do what's called buyer agency agreements. So when I start working with a buyer, I do go over a buyer agency agreement with them. Again, there's going to be some talk about commission, but in most cases, you can ask for that commission from the seller, and commissions are negotiable, so that can be figured out. But it is a 6-month to year-long contract, and it is now required for agents to have some type of a contract before we start showing houses with a buyer. But even if you are in that contract with me, if I let somebody down or it's not a match with personality, I'm not going to hold somebody to that contract, and I think that most agents aren't going to do that. So if you have started a relationship with an agent, it's not working out, or they're not responding to you, or you don't feel like that they understand your needs or wants, have a conversation with them, and they'll either improve, or you can say, hey, I want to discontinue our buyer's agency agreement and find another agent to help me.
Yeah. And another thing I want to stress too is like also when you have an agent that you like, you're a buyer, you have an agent, they've been showing you houses, and you happen to be, your mom calls or your sister calls, or you drive by a house, you don't have to call that number on that sign. Right. Your current agent that you have can show you any property. I really, really want to stress that, because they already know what you're looking for. And you think about it, if you're a buyer, who do you want representing you? Somebody that's representing the seller and you, or would you rather have your own buyer representation on that? Because you got to think about that. If you work with one agent on this, and I know it's a home run for an agent because you get both sides of the transaction from a commission side of it. But as a buyer, I want independent. You know, that's what that agent's doing for me. They're getting paid, Cory, to negotiate with the other agent on that. It's one thing I really, really want to stress a lot, because I feel like sometimes. But if you're an agent and you don't explain that to your buyer, I guess that's on you too.
And that is part of the buyer's agency agreement. There's a section in the buyer's agency agreement that says, hey, if it's your listing, I don't want you to also represent me. So we do have, I do have scenarios where that has happened, and especially if there's competing offers or something, and I've been working with the buyer, and then it happens to be my listing as well. I'll have another agent, from EXP step in and, help that buyer through the process so that they are getting their own individual representation as well. So there's, that's part of the contract, and that's part of what should be explained to any buyers from an agent, that you do want to feel like that the agent is putting your, you representing you as a priority over, a seller.
Yep. Jackie, let's jump into prioritize needs versus wants. Hey, this house has a great, a great kitchen, but it's got a crappy garage. I mean, can you talk about that a little bit? Needs versus wants?
Yeah, absolutely. So, basically, your needs always have to come first when it comes to looking at a house. So, needs are, I need this many bedrooms, I need this many bathrooms, or I need an updated kitchen, something along those lines, something that are non-deal breakers, are your most important things to think about. But then on the other hand, you have, sure, this has, an updated kitchen, but it only has 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, but it has a huge pool. The pool is a want. Is it something that you can live without? Is it like an additional, some of the houses that have the wants that some people think in the back of their head that they want, it's adding, a $20,000 to $50,000 price increase on a house when you're looking at it. So is it something that's truly in your budget to add in your wants, or do you need to specifically start by going with just what your needs are and starting and going from there? And it'll help you with your price point, because like I was saying, for sure you need 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and an updated kitchen. So that's where you're starting at. But maybe you find something that's, in that price range that does still have the pool, but has everything you need.
Nice.
Then it's something that you can kind of take a look at, or something along those lines. So yeah, it's nice if it does have a pool, is kind of how I look at it. But you need to make sure that you're not sacrificing your absolute needs just to get the pretty wants that you want.
Right. Almost like car shopping. Cory, how do you address this with buyers?
Yeah, I think that, definite needs have to do with what I would call like the footprint of the house. So you can't change the location. So the location has to match your needs. And then the total square footage of the home has to match your needs. Yes, I think a lot of people, especially with families or any more than 2 people living in a house, I think, a lot of people are wanting 2 bathrooms right now. And it could be a scenario where it is a big enough house. It doesn't have 2 bathrooms. The location makes sense to you. The yard makes sense to you. It has the garage space that you need. You can certainly look at updating it to having 2 bathrooms or an additional bedroom, or finishing some other space. But the location and the physical footprint of the house has to make sense to you, and the rest, if there's a certain amount of things that make sense to you, and there's the ability to in the future add equity to your house by doing some updates and doing some remodeling and adding some finished square footage space, or that second bathroom or the third bedroom. Those are things that can be changed. So, if the footprint and the location makes sense to you, the rest can kind of be figured out, as you own it and as you grow into it.
Yep. And one thing I like to say a lot too is that you don't have to buy your forever house out of the gate. I mean, we all want a house that we kind of grew up in, or we were in high school in, or whatever. And your parents, they worked hard to have that type of house. You're not going to get that possibly when you're 22. Or, I mean, the oldest first time home buyer I had was 65. I don't know about you guys or Cory or Jackie, but there's not like a certain age you have to buy a house, or when you buy a house. A first time home buyer could be an 18-year-old, or it could be a 65-year-old. It just kind of depends on where people are in their life and what has happened to them. So it's part of it. So that's a good stuff. Up next, do budget for closing costs and unexpected expenses. I think you have to kind of go into, again, we made a list, kind of what we want to talk about each one of our episodes. And Jackie, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So me personally, and I can speak just from my experience as a lender, when it comes to like your closing costs and the amount it's going to cost for you to bring to closing, I personally prefer to always be on the high end when I'm talking to somebody about it, just because then I know if they had already saved and budgeted for that amount and it comes in less than that, then that's still extra money in their pocket, is how I kind of look at it. But you have to think about, your down payment is in there. And a lot of people have this misconception that your down payment covers your closing costs. That's not the case. So you have your down payment, you have your closing costs, and you have your prepaids that all kind of go in there. So, the closing costs are going to be like title fees and stuff like that. And then you have your prepaids, which is your escrow. So your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, stuff like that is all an expense that usually is paid at closing. There are certain situations where you can pay some of that stuff ahead of time, like your homeowner's insurance. You can pay for it a year in advance up front versus paying it at closing. But either way, it's still getting paid on there. So you kind of want to look at it like more or less like closing costs are kind of like a secret menu at a restaurant. You might not see it, but it's definitely there.
Well said, Cory. Cory, how do you talk about kind of this kind of stuff, like the ultimate closing costs, or if you're touring a house, hey, that furnace looks okay, but it's not, it wasn't put in yesterday. How do you address issues like that?
Right. So the first part of closing costs that I really like people to plan ahead, that I don't think people understand, and Jackie touched on it here, is the escrow. It's going to depend on sometimes the time of year. Right now, you're going to get a bigger credit from the seller as far as property tax goes. I think the other important thing, as we talk about credit and making sure that your credit's good, is I've seen a wide variety of homeowners insurance right now. I closed on a deal a couple of months ago, and it was a very large number for homeowners insurance. So I think that those things are important to, and Jackie's been great, and I can usually too. I always say, hey, Jackie, I want to be able to provide these people with the best scenario. So tell me what they're going to need for percentage down, and then tell me what they're going to need for their closing costs and escrows. So I think it's really important. You touched, Jason, on like furnaces and things of that sort. I think we're going to talk here in a bit about home inspections, and we can talk more about that. But the other thing that I've been doing is, buyers can either ask for or somehow negotiate into the deal to get a home warranty. I think that those are really good right now, just because, it's sometimes you can get that paid for by the seller, negotiated after inspection. And that would cover your property for up to a year with a small, usually $75 or $100 deductible. And if your furnace breaks down or if there's a major appliance that breaks down, that can be covered. So there are certainly things that you should plan ahead for.
Yeah, 100%. Let's transition at that. You have a home inspection. As a lender, Jackie and I don't need a home inspection. To all you buyers out there, the appraisal really drives what we have to have. Our appraisal has to meet FHA guidelines, VA guidelines, USDA guidelines, or conventional guidelines. A home inspection is something really for you. It's a deep dive. Like an appraiser typically isn't crawling under a foundation or crawling up in an attic unless they really see something. Okay, appraisers determine in value, and it have a checklist. A home inspection is a little bit more. They're peeking under the curtains, if you will, Cory and Jackie, for the lack of better terms. And now your buyer's agent and you sit down with that home inspection. This gives you a chance. And there's always a time frame too that you have to have this done by. You can't just like pop this Sunday day before closing. There are always going to be inspection contingencies, but it allows you to do that. Like Cory, talk about some of the instances you've had with some home inspections where then you can go back to a seller and say, hey, this popped up on the home inspection, and what you can do and how you really help a buyer in that instance with a home inspection, Cory.
Yeah, so basically the process would be typical home inspections are around a 15-day contingency, depending upon closing date. Sometimes we have to make that smaller, but you would get the accepted offer. You're not doing home inspections until you get the accepted offer. That way the buyer doesn't have their expense out of pocket until they have the accepted offer. Once a buyer has an accepted offer, we schedule a home inspection, hopefully usually in the 3 to 5 days after acceptance. Home inspector comes in. It's a 2, 3, sometimes 4-hour process, depending on the size of the property. Home inspector checks electrical. They're on the roof. They're in the attic. They're checking the foundation. They're checking the mechanicals. They're checking everything. And, if you have a home inspection contingency, something comes up, especially in this market now, we are able to renegotiate with the seller. And then there's kind of several things that you can do. At that point, we can specifically ask the seller to repair things. We can ask for a credit. We can ask for a price reduction. But basically, yeah, it's giving you a deep dive of the home to see if anything that's major that needs to be addressed. The other thing that I say and like about home inspections is even if we are able to negotiate a credit or negotiate some fixes, I always tell buyers to hold on to their home inspection, prioritize the things after purchase, kind of put a 5-year plan out and say, hey, we're going to address this or we're going to address that. I mean, you learn the age of the roof, you learn the age of the furnace, you learn the age of the air conditioner. So it helps you to not only negotiate some fixes, but also helps you set up a plan to, help with some maintenance costs, do some planning as far as things that might need to be replaced. And, you basically want to, especially if it's your first home and you're only going to have it for 3 to 5 years and you're going to move up into a bigger home. If you can address those items on that home inspection, and when you come to sell, you're going to get more money from your home because you're not going to have that second phase of negotiations where a buyer tries to bring the price down. So I think home inspections are great for knowledge, to negotiate, and also to plan like your maintenance schedule on your home, to be able to budget and plan.
And this is a funny meme I found on the internet. It says, look, I saved $400 by waiving the home inspection. I could use that towards the $15,000 of foundation, plumbing, and electrical repairs. Cory kind of hinted at that during COVID when rates were low. Okay, so when an offer is accepted, a lot of people were waiving the home inspections. Okay, they were kind of, taking a chance. Hey, this looks good. And with a newer home, there's probably not going to be any secrets, but you never know. And a home inspector can find something like that. It really is. It's another insurance policy. And this is something, again, that we don't require as a lender. This is where the buyer's agent says, hey, I really think we should get a home inspection in this house. Or, hey, this is brand new construction. I think we could probably waive an inspection. And, in this circumstance, it's kind of funny. So another one I found that made me laugh. Hey, Karen, it's me, God. Please stop telling your realtor that your lowball offers are in my hands. You're going to be homeless. So what that's funny. I don't care who you are. That's it's a little bit more of a buyer's market right now, but you can't be you can't be offering 30, 40,000 less. I had a client do that on Saturday morning. The agent called me. I'm like, listen, this is what somebody in their family's telling them they think this house is worth. I need you to be, the realtor and square that client away. And just, I don't know. I think there was a time, Corey, and I don't remember when that time was, but you could wheel and deal on houses, and that just, it's not, things aren't selling as fast, but it's still not like you can come in 40, 50,000 under it and get a deal. If you know what I'm saying. I just feel like there's too much of that out there. So,
yeah, I would agree.
I mean, everybody wants a deal, right? We all do, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I want to win the lottery.
I want $1 million.
I mean, I would share, Corey. I really would. I think my internet just Netflixed. That's going to be my new thing. I'm going to call it my internet just Netflixed. So it's all good. So. Did you actually get to watch the fight the other night? I had friends that I got to watch it, but it was like super blurry, like 480. It was not good video quality.
I honestly just had to start. I had my phone up, and a group of us were just watching it on my phone because anybody who's watching from their phone, it didn't lag.
Okay. So let's jump into the don'ts a little bit. And there's been a meme running around all the time. Oh, hey, I'm just buying a house. Sorry I didn't use you. And then the realtor or the lender says, hey, you should go buy a car before closing. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I love that. I'm going to go find that, put that on the screen. But Corey, or actually, Jackie, you touch on this as a lender. Don't make big financial changes. Don't change jobs. Talk about all that stuff, Jackie, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I cannot stress this enough. And I'm sure that lenders, realtors, we all have horror stories that we could talk about when it came to situations like this. But I always tell people the second that I issue a pre-approval, do not do any big purchases whatsoever until you have your keys in hand and you have signed the documents. Lenders are like little ninjas. So are underwriters. We see everything. So you may think that we don't know that you're doing it, but we know that you're doing it. And then we're going to ask you about it. And then we're gonna be like, why did you do that when we already told you not to? There are certain situations, and I've had situations where, somebody had a super low debt to income ratio, like 5% for a debt to income ratio. And they were like, hey, I want to take advantage of Home Depot has their 0% or financing or whatever, and to get my new appliances, to update the appliances. I've okayed that before. But I also let them know I need documentation on everything, on what you got pre-approved for, what's your limit, how much did you already spend on it, and stuff like that. But do not go out and buy a new boat. Don't go out and buy a new car. I know sometimes when you get a pre-approval, it's like a fantasy land. Like you can't believe you got pre-approved. So then you're like, I'm going to go get pre-approved and get every other loan underneath the moon, because if I could buy a house, I can buy everything else too. Don't do that. That will end very, very bad. Don't do that.
Well, the big thing, it truly affects. I mean, if you're solid debt to income ratio, I tell my clients all the time, before you switch jobs or before you make any big purchases, just let me run the numbers. And I've had people where they went and bought engagement rings the week before closing, and we did that soft pull before, and they had to take their engagement rings back. Mm-hmm. To close on the house. I don't know if that marriage actually lasted.
That should be an omen. Yeah, I was just gonna say, when you have to return your engagement ring.
I had a closing once where the wife found out the husband had been married before, and they had not disclosed that properly. And then I looked at the title person and said, "At this point, I think it's best if we leave the room." And it worked out, and they're still happily married, and they send me Christmas cards. But it was a very unique situation, I like to say, Corey and Jackie. So. Mm-hmm. But life happens. So this is the one here I found. I want to put this up here. This makes me laugh. Wait on my slow computer.
Yeah.
I'm closing a new house next weekend. Sorry we didn't use you. Me, that's okay. Congrats. You should go buy a new car to celebrate. And that's just that's our way of saying, why didn't you choose me? I'm a realtor, or I'm a lender. Why'd you use somebody else? Technically it could throw a wrench into the. And that's what I joke around all the time. Like, I just, I have to make sure you did. Like, one of the common questions I get is, how long is a pre-approval good for? And I'm like, 90 days, 120 days. You got to pull a new credit report in there, before we close. We just got to make sure you didn't go buy a Ferrari or something like that. I'm assuming a car payment on a Ferrari, Corey, would be pretty legit. So,
right.
Pretty legit. Let's see here. Got to find my handy dandy notes here, guys. Give me 1 second.
The next one is don't skip the fine print.
But Cory, there's a lot of it.
So I do think that there's the offers a lot of pages and there's a lot into it, and that's when you know that you want to have that agent that you trust to be able to go over it. I like to, when I can, either do a Zoom or meet in person, or have a phone call when they're looking over the documents. Be careful that you're just not signing it, and that most of the time, if you have a good relationship with an agent, they're going to know what you need in the offer as far as appraisal contingency, percentage down, whether or not you're doing a home inspection. So I just think it's important, that goes along with this. Don't skip the fine print of being able to, be working with an agent that you trust, that's going to protect you with the buyers or with the offer to purchase contract.
And I would add in there, don't be afraid to ask stupid questions.
Right.
That's one thing I tell people. Like, I do this every day, but if I'm going to go buy something or I'm going to do something I don't know about, I'm going to ask a lot of questions because I want to make sure that I completely understand this process.
Yes, always ask your lenders and always ask your realtors. If you don't know, always ask. No question is stupid. We would rather you ask than not ask and do something, and then we have to dig you out of a hole.
Cory, I want you to run with this one as the agent. Don't get emotionally attached to a single property. Talk about that a little bit.
Things, again, we talk like this, how it used to be, how it was, how it is right now. I had some buyers that in the last few years that, they saw a house, they felt some pressure. They wrote an offer on the first house they saw. They thought it was the only one, and then, they get beat out and don't get it. Or they, go way over because they kind of feel in that desperation mode. I really feel like that. And now it's, because there is more inventory, because we do have a little bit more time. I set up showings where we're looking at 4 properties on a Saturday afternoon, and my buyer looks at the first property and they're like, hey, this is it. This is the one I want. And I'm like, hey, let's go look at the other 3 properties. That's great. We'll put this down as your number 1 right now. But I feel like when you can compare the property that you like to other properties, you're going to have more information and you're going to be able to make a better decision, less emotional. And I think that you need to look at a few houses prior to making an offer to see what else is out there, to see what other price ranges have to offer, and then make a decision.
Well said.
Pictures can be deceiving looking at them online, right, Cory?
That's right. That's our job as listing agents, is to make the pictures look great and get as many people in as we can. So, I've had it both ways. I've had it where people, Jason, it's hard for me to concentrate when you keep putting up these funny things.
Well, I'm trying to be funny, Cory.
Yeah, you're good. I've had it where the pictures look really good, and you get there and it's not great. Or I've had the opposite where somebody schedules a showing based upon the pictures, and then they get to the property and there's surprises that are even better. So it does go both ways, but I do think that it's important to look at several homes, several different styles, and different price ranges. Even if you are pre-approved at a certain amount, look at houses that are at that pre-approval amount, but also look at houses that are less than that pre-approval amount, and decide if it still fits your needs. So, I always encourage my buyers to, when the inventory is there, to take advantage of it and look and see several different home styles and price ranges of homes.
Jackie, talk about the neighborhood, how important that is. I got you blocked up with this thing there. I'll move you up. Sorry.
Yeah. So for the neighborhood, this is something that for me was huge when I was buying a house. You want to know your neighborhood. You want to know, do you want to be in the city? Do you want to be in the country? What area do you want to be in? Is the school district the most important to you? What is the most important to you? So myself as an example, I wanted to be on at least 10 acres and I wanted to be in a small town. Now, don't get me wrong, small towns, everybody knows everybody, and I love that. My husband, on the other hand, he hates going anywhere with me because everywhere I go, it takes 10 times longer because everybody's like, oh, hi, Jackie, how are you? Oh,
chatty Jackie.
And then I sit there and talk. It was actually kind of funny because I went to go take my son to actually get his hair cut. And I was walking back out the door and this guy comes running out the door and he's like, are you the Jackie Lange? Like I was somebody famous. And I'm like, I am the Jackie Lange. Like, what can I help you with? He's like, oh, I work with, your daughter's boyfriend. We always talk about you. I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. He's like, oh, no, all things. He's like, but I had to meet the Jackie Lange. I'm like, okay. But, it's the small town feel for me. Like, that's what I like. Everybody knows everybody, but then everybody looks out for everybody. But that's something you have to think about. If you're a social butterfly like me, then you'll want that. If not, you want to be in the city and then, you're walking past somebody different every time you go to the grocery store.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I certainly think some other things are, do you want to be close to where there's sidewalks and you can go for a walk? Do you want to be close to, like in Portage here? Do you want to be close to the levee? Do you want to be close to parks? Is your neighborhood, close to the train tracks, for example? And with that, because I've had this discussion with buyers of, okay, there's train tracks there's trains going by, those aren't awful, but if there's train tracks near a railroad crossing where they have to blow the horn, that's a big deal. And, is that going to work for you? If you can handle it and get used to it, great. If not, things of that, are important. I always suggest to people too that, hey, go to that neighborhood on both times of the day. If we looked at the property during the day, during the daylight hours, that we had that view of it. Don't be afraid to drive by the property on a weekend or in the evening, just to kind of get a feel and make sure it's something that you want, some location where you want to be living.
Danielle Eager says Jackie for president. Did you pay her?
No, I did not pay her, but she is one of my best friends, so I gotta love her either way.
Fair enough. Yeah, Cory, I think you should go trick or treating in a neighborhood to find out if you want to live there or not. See what kind of candy bars you get. So.
There you go.
What you think? And Christmas lights, Cory. Christmas lights are important.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
did we get any Christmas tree comments yet?
No,
I have not seen any Christmas tree.
Well, me, I don't leave our comments up. Okay, question of the night: fake tree or real tree? We gotta ask everybody there.
How about you, Jason? What about you? Fake tree?
We're real tree. We're a real tree family. And my wife goes and picks it out like in October, and she tags it, and then she goes back out there and cuts it down. I would say our Christmas tree is usually up by December 10th or so because she wants it fresh for Christmas. So that's and happy wife, happy life. So that therefore I follow the instructions there. Plus she lets me go tractor pulling. So
you're such a good husband, Jason.
Oh no, I hope she's listening in the other room. Actually, that's my goal. I'm in my home, my unorganized home office. As I look at my background, I'm like, wow, people are like, wow, Jason's got stuff everywhere. I do. So it's all good. Fake tree or real tree? That is the question of the night. And the last one, don't extend your budget. I'll run with that one a little bit. We, Jackie and I, or whoever your loan officer is, we're going to pre-approve you up to a certain dollar amount. And I've had people say, I don't want to go over my total monthly payment over X. And I look at that and go, well, you got like 25% left in your DTI. Yeah. But you don't understand. I want to save so much money every month. And that's really, you tell us, and we can tell you what you can afford in that price range based upon current interest rates and stuff like that. That's really what that comes down to. Be comfortable with that monthly payment because 30 years is a long time, to write that check every single month. And your payment will go up because of taxes, insurance, rates. Once we lock your rate in, it cannot move, but taxes and insurance are going to go up. I unfortunately, just like home value is going to go up, which is a good thing. So our tax insurance and your escrow will adjust from year to year, and that will affect your monthly payment on that. So it's all good. It is all good.
And I've seen that before, and I actually respect buyers that I like people that plan ahead, and I want to see people, not be overextended, enjoy the time in their home, be able to put some updates into it if you want, save money so that if you do decide to sell and want a bigger home or a different location, that you're in a good position. So I like it when people are, pre-approved for a certain amount and say, hey, that's great, but we want to look in this amount. So, and again, that comes with my last example of looking at several different scenarios and housing options. And if it meets your needs and the location's right, and it has the amenities that are most important to you, buy the lesser priced home, save your money, do some fixes, and sell it and do it again.
Yep. Cory, are you a fake tree or a real tree person?
Yeah, I'm more of a Festivus pole person.
Okay.
No, I am not I am not I don't care for decorating. It is not important to me. But I think real tree though, if I was going to have to vote on one or the other.
We'll get one and put in your office. We might go. I think we should go drinking some night and steal a Christmas tree, Cory, and put it in your office. That's a joke, everybody. Maybe, I don't know. Depends how much you drink. Let's be honest, Cory. If you see Cory and I sneaking around town like the Grinch, so that would be funny.
Jason, I think we need to go buy like those 25-foot tall blow-ups and go put them in Cory's yard.
Oh, the big! I want to give him a big turkey.
Yeah.
Gobble, 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 gobble. So
that
seems to be the new thing, the blow up. There's certain there's a house just down the road from us that they have everything. They have, I bet, 50 of them in their yard. It's insane. And all of a sudden, at 5 o'clock, their timer comes on, the lights come on. All of a sudden, we were walking by it one night with our dog. It was funny. I remember that last year. So
I would still do that at my house, and nobody can even see my house from the road.
Well, because you live in a small town of 10 acres.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I have a quarter-mile long driveway. That's why nobody can see it.
Yep.
But yeah, I would still do it just so I could see it every day.
I love it, love it, love it. Yeah, so last but not least here, I want to put one more comment, one more from our notes up on the screen. Give me 1 second. Went from my Netflix internet to work. So we talked about this ahead of time, but Cory basically said, this is right. The market right now is like a giant sale at your favorite store, right? You're starting to see 0% down for 60 months on cars again. There's a reason for that. The economy's not as strong as it was, and there are deals, there's inventory, and there's opportunities. Cory, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I just think that right now there's a decent amount of inventory, depending on the area that you're looking at. But I mean, I cover a 5-county-wide radius, and I look at the inventory every day, and there's decent amount of inventory out there right now. So there's options that you can look at houses, in different areas, in different price ranges, and some houses have been listed for 25, 30 days, a month. It did, 5 years ago that wasn't a horrible thing. But I do think there's room for either negotiations in purchase price, again, being able to do an inspection, and there's potentially more opportunity that a seller is going to do some fixes or give you a credit for things that come up in inspections, or that, we talked before about closing costs being separate from your down payment, that there's actually opportunity out there right now where you can ask sellers to credit you some of your closing costs so that you have less out of pocket. And then you can buy more Christmas presents.
Yay. I love it. I love it. Jackie, let's wrap this outstanding episode of This Week in Real Estate up. What's running through your mind right now? What are you telling people?
I honestly, and I preach it every time I feel like that we're on here, buy now. There's no reason to be waiting at this point. If you're hopeful and thinking that you're going to see a 2% interest rate anytime soon, it's not going to happen.
Nope.
If you're waiting for that, you might as well wait until the next pandemic's going to happen, which could be, 50 years from now.
Let's not talk about that, Jackie. I'm gonna, Cory, I'm putting her in the penalty box. I don't even like hearing about that. She has to sit for 8, 7. Well, we'll bring her back. So.
I think so too. I know, and one of you guys can talk about your refinancing options. Again, we don't have a crystal ball. We can't predict that rates are going to go down. But if rates do go down, home prices are going to go up. So if you're buying now and the payment makes sense to you now, and you can refinance 6 months from now or a year from now, if rates drop down, then you're going to save money and your payment's going to go down at that point. But again, in my opinion, right now is a great time to buy. And again, if the rates come down, everybody's going to jump back in that's sitting on the sidelines, and home prices are going to go back up.
Yep. This is just a stat I like to show. If you're waiting, you'd have waited over 20 years waiting for the rates to go down. And that's a lot of equity that people lost. One thing I see a lot, Cory, is that, these people bought this house 3 years ago and it's for $50,000 less. Yeah, that's how much stuff is appreciated. So that's what you missed out on, and that's where we can't be confident about a lot of things, but I just feel like home values can continue to go up and up and up, because where you lay your head down every night is it's important. It's really, really important.
The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is today.
Oh, I'm gonna make a
absolutely. I like that, Cory.
And this is my favorite one. If this potato can become a vodka, wow! If this potato can become vodka, I haven't had any vodka yet today. If this potato can become vodka, you can become a homeowner, and that's just that's the honest truth. And you do not need 20% down to buy a house. I still think that's the biggest myth out there for people, that they think you got to have 20% down. We have 0 down with USDA and VA. 3.5% down with FHA. What's 3.5% down mean? $100,000 house, you need $3,500 down. $200,000 house, you need $7,000 down. You can borrow from your 401k. You can get a gift from family. Save your tax return. Save some money. You can get a seller credit for some closing costs. All these things are in play. Call an agent. Call a realtor. Call a lender. Call a mortgage. Whatever you want to call us. Call somebody. And quit renting. Quit renting. Because when you rent, you're making somebody else's, you're making your landlord's mortgage payment. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the truth. So
100% true.
Love it.
That's all I got. Cory, are you good?
Yeah, I think this was great. Some good information out there. If we didn't give a good enough explanation on any of these points, or if there's something that we didn't touch on as a buyer, that you want to see us either talk about more at a future podcast, or just answer directly if you're catching this on replay, and you have a question that wasn't brought up, go ahead and type it in the comments. One of us will certainly get back to you. But and again, if there's other topics or questions that you want us to go in more depth about, get a hold of one of us, and we'll add it to a future broadcast here.
Awesome. Thank you for watching This Week in Real Estate. Cory Otto, Jackie Lange, Jason Schultz. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.